Kate Smith with AM Best TV. We're in Las Vegas for the InsurTech Connect conference. Joining us now are Stefan Holzberger, Chief Rating Officer of AM Best, and Jim Gillard, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for AM Best. Guys, thanks for joining us today. So, Jim, AM Best recently released its revised draft of the innovation criteria. Can you tell us what's new?
So, yes, we just closed our comment period. We got a lot of great feedback from the industry, which we value very much, right? We really see this as a partnership. It's great to hear the reactions, and we take every comment very seriously. I would say overall the response was fairly positive. So you won't see broad sweeping changes in the criteria. The structure of the scoring remains the same. Our input-output approach to measuring innovation has remained constant. We did add some clarifications around things like what we expect from a company's mission statement, that we're not asking companies to change their mission statement to explicitly say innovation. We just want companies to be, thoughtful in their innovation approach. We've also changed our descriptors a bit to be more reflective of an assessment of innovation as opposed to a statement about how they're innovating, and just some more refined language around those things, but no major significant changes in the structure of the assessment.
Okay. So, Stefan, can you tell me a little bit about the differences in scoring versus how it fits into the rating criteria?
Sure, Kate. Yeah, we get that question a lot because there's really two aspects to the way we look at innovation. The scoring of innovation is an absolute measure that ties specifically to the company's level of innovativeness. And that scoring is based on the aspects of the organization, so the inputs as we call it, whether it's the culture, the leadership, the processes, the aspects about the organization that either make it innovative or not. And then we couple that with the output. So really what measurable, tangible benefits has those innovation efforts led to successful efficiencies, cost reduction, a better customer experience, and the level of transformation. So some attempts at being innovative can have small effects for the positive, and some can be transformational. So we want to differentiate between what really level of success has there been for that innovation. So again, the scoring is on an absolute measure, whereas our credit ratings, by definition, are relative measures of creditworthiness, right? So as we look at innovation as part of our rating analysis, that takes on more of a relative measure. It's an aspect of business profile. It's one of many things we look at in that building block: concentration of risk, regulatory risk, management's ability to hit its plan. There are many factors, many qualitative factors that tie into business profile. The level of innovativeness of that organization, once the criteria is released, will be another element of that business profile analysis.
So what is the benchmark for innovation? What are these companies being compared to? Are they compared to their peers?
So one of the things that gives AM Best a great position is we have a great vantage point of the industry. Right? We get to see companies of all different shapes, sizes, demographic domiciles, different lines of business, and we rate them all. So we have constructed a rubric to standardize the scoring across the industry. So as Stefan mentioned, the assessment overall on innovation is absolute. Right? So the most innovative companies will score the highest, and they are being measured, across the industry and compared to, non-insurance participants. Right? We can't just be limited to insurance partners. Right? There are other entities, other tech firms. We have to keep that in mind. And one of our components of the output is actually level of transformation. And to score the highest score in that single component, you actually have to do well compared to not just your insurance peers, but other businesses that use technology and leverage it in a much different way. So we do think the assessment's absolute. We are currently going through testing of the rubric now. We're testing all of our companies to make sure that we're consistent. We have an innovation team within AM Best that will make sure we're measuring and using the rubric consistently to make sure we're getting an even playing field across our assessments.
Will the scores be published?
Ultimately, the plan is to publish those scores, but we want to move carefully on releasing that information to the public. As Jim just said, we have to go through pretty extensive internal testing, calibration to make sure that across all of our offices, our whole rating portfolio, globally, that we are taking the same approach to the way we're scoring that innovation for each company, whether it be a life company, PC, health, a US-based company, or an international company. We really want to make sure that that scoring makes sense across all of our different analytical teams. So there will be some internal calibration over a period of time. We'll really make sure that those scores are appropriate and that we're all using the same definition of how we arrive at that score. But ultimately, the plan is to roll out those scores.
So when do you expect to fully implement this?
So our going live with the criteria is always comment dependent. Right, we're opening for another comment period now, and we would encourage everybody to give their feedback, let us know their thoughts. But assuming the feedback goes similar to how it went in the first period, and nothing significant structural changes need to take place, our expectation is to go live with the criteria in the first half of 2020.
Jim, Stefan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For AM Best TV, I'm Kate Smith.